Hello, this is Joe Neville, and in this video I'm going to be installing Ubuntu 17.10 on VirtualBox, which is running on a Windows 7 host. Now, you're probably familiar with Ubuntu, but this one is a little different. That's because 17.10 is the first version to be released with the Gnome 3 desktop installed by default. Now, if you're not up to speed with this kind of thing, previously Ubuntu had a dedicated desktop which went by the name of Unity. But that was getting a little old and a little tired looking and needed a refresh, and a lot of work was performed on the successor, Unity 8. But then back in the spring of 2017, news was released that 17.10 would ship with Gnome 3 and that Unity 8 was not going to be released. So having a Gnome 3 desktop is quite a change for Ubuntu and its fans. So let's dive into it and have a look. First step for any OS install is to, of course, download the image. So go to ubuntu.com/download/desktop. This is the old version which runs Unity, the 16.04.3 LTS. We're looking for this newer version, Ubuntu 17.10. So hit that green download. To save time, I've already got the image. Here's my VirtualBox. I'm running 5.1.30. So at the time of me recording this, there is another version of VirtualBox out, 5.2. I did install it earlier today, but I had some issues with it, so I've reverted back to 5.1.30. Okay, so new. Let's give this VM a name. Up the memory size, create that. Okay. Open up settings, add. I find it useful to put in a description. Up the processor. Okay, storage, so this saves some time if you select the image. That's my ISO which I downloaded earlier. Put that in the IDE there. On the network side of things, I like to access the VM directly, so I bridge a network adapter. Okay, and that's all good, ready to go. We'll start up the VM. Full screen that. Okay, so install Ubuntu. I'll download the update so it's all done in one go. This is just a VM, so I don't have to worry about partitioning. I'm just going to select the default, erase disk and install. So hit install now. Continue using the defaults. I'm on the London time zone. English UK, please. Continue. Go for 99. Just in the lab, so I'll call it just a short password there. Okay, while that's installing, let's have a look at the release notes for the new desktop. Okay, so this is the Gnome 3.26, which goes by the codename of Manchester. These are the release notes that are on help.gnome.org. So what they've listed here is some of the major improvements. We've got, bearing in mind these are improvements on the latest version of Gnome. These are not differences between Gnome and Unity. So we've got improved search. We've got new look settings with this sidebar here for the settings. That's quite a change to the previous. We've got color emojis with 3.26. And nobody likes emojis more than me, but one of the things is that this functionality is not in Ubuntu 17.10. So sorry, emoji fans. We've got some other things like synchronizing your browser, display settings, and some system refinements to make it look and feel a lot more elegant. Okay, the installation is complete. It requires a restart, which I'll do now. Okay, let's log in. Okay, and here is our new Gnome 3.26 desktop. Very nice looking it is too. So let's make ourselves feel at home and have a look around. Over on the left here, you've got some icons which you can pin your favorites to. Up here is activity. So if you hit that, that brings up this search bar. So if I type in terminal, that will bring up and search for terminal and bring that up. To pin that, I just right click and then add to favorites. We'll close that down, come back to that in a moment. I always like to remove some of the clutter that I don't want from here as well. Move from favorites. Okay, now in the middle at the top you can see you've got the day and the time. If you hit that, you get this calendar and notifications. So that is where if you've got any messages from certain applications or the operating system itself, they'll appear here. Over on the top right, you've got some icons. If you hit that area, they will come up. So you've got the volume. I've got my network adapters, charge, user, and the VPN. This here is the settings menu. I'll show you that in a moment. And this is the on-off. Now, if we go down to this, show applications, that's where you bring up all of the applications. Once you use certain applications a few times, they'll be populated in the frequent. Hit this all at the bottom to show all of the applications that we've got. One of the first things we always have to do when installing an OS, of course, is update the software. Okay, let's run that install now. Right, so while that's running, let's show you the settings. So that's top right and that spanner and screwdriver. Okay, so this is different from previous versions of Gnome and quite different from Unity. So you have this sidebar here with different options. If you hit certain things of interest, I always like to play around with the look and feel. So if we open up the lock screen, I'll select that one. You get lots of pretty photos there. I'll select the one that changes through the day. Very nice. Also, this is of interest, dock. So what you can do here is you can change the icon size. So if you look over on the left, those will be changing size. Make those a bit smaller. And you can change the position. So the default is at the moment is left. You can put it in at the bottom for a more Windows looking feel. Also down here we have network. Here's my two Ethernet adapters. If you hit one of these cogs, you can bring up the details for that. There's the IP address, default route, DNS, etc. Here's the IPv4 and the IPv6. Good stuff. Looking at the details there, you can see 17.10, 326.1. You can also check for updates by hitting that button. Okay, so our software has updated. I'll close those down. Now, something of interest as well, I think if you look at the terminal, if you're a Unity user, you may be used to this toolbar here being up at the top left, where it used to appear by default with Unity. Personally, I found that quite annoying. I prefer it to be in the window, much more like a Windows experience, but I found it just more convenient for it to be inside the window. So you have this here where you can change the preferences, etc., closer to hand. And another interesting point that I wanted to show you for all you Pythonistas out there, if we type Python, we don't actually get anything. That's because Python 2 is not installed by default on 17.10. Python 3 is, and it is the latest version, Python 3.6.3. So I think that's some positive steps on the journey to sunsetting Python 2, but I did find that when I installed a few applications that Python 2 was linked in with the download, so I ended up with Python 2 not long after installing the OS and having it live. Finally, as you can see, we are running on the 4.13 Linux kernel. So what do you think? I normally run Fedora as my go-to Linux operating system. I think it's quite a change for Ubuntu users, especially those that really did like Unity. But as I mentioned, I personally thought that was getting a little tired looking, and I think this is a positive improvement. Not enough for me to want to jump to Ubuntu as my main OS, but interesting all the same. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do like it if you did, and drop me a dislike if you didn't. And please let me know in the comments what you think of this operating system. Are you a fan of Ubuntu, the old Unity desktop, or do you prefer another OS? And of course, please do subscribe. That's all for now. My name is Joe Neville. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.